Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze the main tactical themes in Arsenal's 2-0 win over Leicester City. So in today's video, first we're going to focus on Arsenal and Leicester City's pressing. Then we'll shift to how Arsenal were able to contain Leicester City in that opening half. And then lastly, we'll focus on the second half adjustments that Rodgers made to help Leicester fight back into the game. So when we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have Leicester City playing in a 3-4-1-2 and Arsenal in more of a 4-4-1-1, with Lacazette often dropping off into those deeper midfield zones to receive the ball in pockets of space to help link play. So when we break this all down, what we're going to first look at is the pressing from both sides, as it did play a key role in the overall outcome of the game, specifically in those opening 20 minutes. So when we focus on Leicester City's pressing, it should have been pretty straightforward. Vardy and Iheanacho should be stepping towards the center backs. You would want Maddison to deal with the Arsenal deepest lying midfielder, whether that be Lokonga or Thomas Partey, and then have Tielemans stepping to the spare midfielder while Soumare deals with Lacazette. That does leave Tomiyasu and Tavares free out in the wider areas, so you'd push the wingbacks forward and Luke Thomas and Castagna to close them down, and then have Soyuncu and Amarte dealing with Smith-Rowe and Saka while Evans deals with Lacazette. However, the issue that Leicester City did encounter here was that Saka and Smith-Rowe were positioning themselves near the touchline, so Luke Thomas and Castagna weren't able to step forward to apply pressure, and when Tomiyasu did receive the ball, that's when you would see Maddison stepping forward to close him down, and that puts onus on Iheanacho and Vardy to close down the Arsenal center backs but block off the passing lane into Thomas Partey. The positioning of Arsenal's wide players did mean that now Leicester City did press in more of a 3-5-2, with Maddison shifting out to Tomiyasu, and if Nuno Tavares received the ball from that left back zone, Tielemans would shift over to close him down. Ultimately, the other option for Leicester City would see Soumare and Tielemans stepping towards Thomas Partey and Lokonga, and then have one of the center backs stepping towards Lacazette to close him down. Whenever Leicester City did look to close down in that manner, what you ended up seeing was that Lacazette was free to drop off into that midfield zone to serve as an outlet for the Arsenal center backs or Ramsdale, and on several occasions in that opening half, Lacazette played a key role in helping Arsenal bypass that press. In the opening stages, you could see the Leicester City forwards looking to press Ramsdale and White while blocking off the passing lane into Thomas Partey, and that's where you see Ramsdale bypassing that initial press and finding Lacazette, who drops off into that midfield zone, and now he's looking to play a first-time pass into Thomas Partey due to the fact that Tielemans didn't shift over to provide cover. That ultimately results in Thomas Partey receiving the ball beyond the Leicester City forwards, and with no midfielders stepping forward, he's able to help Arsenal progress their play. This time it's Maddison stepping towards Tomiyasu, and you can see Lacazette checking into the ball near the touchline to drag out Soumare. Tomiyasu ends up bypassing Maddison to play Lacazette into his feet, and Lacazette's instantly looking to play the ball into Tomiyasu, making the run off Maddison, and you could see that Thomas Partey is being closed down by Iheanacho. Tomiyasu is able to receive the return pass from Lacazette, and from here you're expecting him to be in trouble as Maddison and Iheanacho do shift across to apply pressure, but Tomiyasu does a very good job of dribbling out of that pressure, and he ends up sliding the ball central. Another issue that Arsenal could have exploited more often was that if you have Leicester City pressing in this manner, you do have the center backs and Tomiyasu closed out of the game, but if Tielemans is stepping towards Lokonga, then Nuno Tavares does serve as an outlet for the Arsenal center backs or Ramsdale to clip the ball out to if Smith-Rowe and Saka are occupying the wing backs. On the other hand, when Arsenal did look to press from the front, we often saw Aubameyang sticking towards Evans, Lacazette pushing towards Soyuncu, Smith-Rowe stepping to Amarte, and that would see Saka dealing with Luke Thomas and Tavares stepping towards Castagna, and that was often due to the fact that Maddison was shifting out into that left-sided zone and Tomiyasu was picking him up, and that would allow Lokonga and Thomas Partey to step to the midfield duo. On the rare occasion where you would have Lacazette stepping towards Amarte or Aubameyang stepping towards Amarte with Lacazette sticking towards Evans, Saka would shift across to deal with Soyuncu. You could have Tomiyasu pushing towards Luke Thomas, and then it would be Smith-Rowe who ends up shifting across across to deal with Tielemans as Nuno Tavares steps towards Castagna, and that would allow Thomas Partey to deal with Maddison with Lokonga shifting over to deal with Soumare. The reason why they were focused on Soumare was that they were looking to contain Leicester City and ensure that their key midfield players weren't able to serve as a supply line for Vardy or Iheanacho. They were content with the Leicester City center backs playing the ball amongst each other, and it was only when they looked to step towards the halfway line when they did look to apply pressure. But there, what you end up seeing is that they were ensuring that Soumare couldn't dictate the tempo from deeper positions. Tielemans was closed down by Lokonga, and then Thomas Partey was tracking the movement of Maddison or Iheanacho dropping off into that space between the lines, with Saka shifting narrow to help close him down, and Gabriel communicating with Thomas Partey to track the movement of Iheanacho. Now, what you'd see down that left-hand side was that Smith-Rowe was tracking the movement of Castagna, but there were times where he would step towards Amarte if he was pushing towards the halfway line, looking to block off the passing lane into Castagna, and then dropping off deeper to help out Nuno Tavares if the ball was played out to the wingback. Whereas over on the opposite flank, Saka was often tracking the movement of Maddison, looking to drop off into that midfield zone to receive the ball. And then that would see Luke Thomas pushing forward, but Tomiyasu was comfortable with his threat. In that midfield zone, you have Lacazette and Aubameyang sitting between Soumare. And if one of the forwards stepped towards a Leicester City center back, the other would sit on Soumare and vice versa. You can see an example of Aubameyang catching Amarte higher up the pitch. He's able to win possession and break down the left channel to pull out Johnny Evans, but as he breaks into left half space, Evans applies enough pressure to force a tame effort at Schmeichel. So therefore, in that midfield zone, if Lokonga is tracking the movement of Tielemans, that leaves Thomas Partey free, and if Maddison wasn't shifting into that central midfield zone, then he was dealing with Iheanacho dropping off deeper, looking to receive the ball. The onus was to have Vardy sitting in that gap between Tomiyasu and White and looking to make runs into those gaps, but Thomas Partey would deal with Iheanacho, and if Maddison shifted laterally to occupy that space, then that's when you would see Gabriel stepping forward to close him down. The obvious goal for Leicester was to get the ball out into the wider areas and have Vardy and Iheanacho making runs in towards the channel, but White and Gabriel did a very good job of tracking that movement, applying tight pressure, and ensuring that there was no danger towards Ramsdale. Ultimately, this did force Brendan Rodgers to shift his system to a 4-2-3-1, and the key here was the introduction of Lookman and Barnes out in the wider areas. Both players offered different threats. Barnes was looking to run at Tomiyasu, or he was looking to make those underlapping runs in between White and Tomiyasu to receive the ball in the half spaces. Whereas on the opposite flank, what we ended up seeing was that Lookman wasn't looking to run at Tavares on a consistent basis. He was dropping off into that midfield zone, looking to receive the ball in the gap between Lokonga and Smith-Rowe, and that's where you'd see Castagna providing the width by pushing forward to occupy Tavares, or he was looking to make underlapping runs into that gap between Gabriel and Tavares to pull out one of the defenders. Here you see Tielemans dropping into an inside right position just ahead of the halfway line to receive the ball from Castagna, and no pressure is applied towards him, so he's able to split two Arsenal midfielders to find Lookman dropping off into a central position off of Nuno Tavares. When Lookman receives the ball from Tielemans, you could see that he's in a pocket of space in that midfield zone, and from there, what he ends up doing is turning and carrying the ball towards the Arsenal backline, and while Odegaard does apply pressure, now you could see Smith-Rowe and Thomas Partey converging. Lookman's able to brush off the Odegaard pressure, and that's where he looks to slide the ball across Smith-Rowe into the path of Castagna, who's now placed in a 1v1 to run at Nuno Tavares, and that was a key tactical shift from Leicester City's shape. Theoretically, this should have helped Leicester City's pressing as well, as now you could have Maddison dealing with the deepest lying Arsenal midfielder, and then have Tielemans and Soumare dealing with Lacazette and Lokonga. Even if they wanted to block off the passing lane into the deepest lying midfielder, whether it be Thomas Partey or Lokonga, you have Vardy and Maddison stepping towards the center backs, and Maddison or Vardy blocking off the passing lane into that midfielder. However, there were situations where that Leicester City press was bypassed. Here you can see an example where Lookman's stepping towards Gabriel and Maddison's tracking Lokonga, but no one's stepping towards Thomas Partey, dropping off into his own midfield zone to pick up possession. And on the other hand, the other outlet that Arsenal did have if Leicester City got their pressing right was simply having Ramsdale looking to punt balls into Aubameyang to bypass the press and hope that Aubameyang was able to link play with his teammates or that Ramsdale's deliveries were successful. In terms of Arsenal's pressing, it should have been straightforward with Aubameyang stepping towards the center backs and Lacazette sitting on Soumare, but there were times where we did see Lacazette stepping towards the center backs as well and looking to block off the passing lane into the Leicester City deepest midfielder. However, in that midfield zone, it should have been Lokonga against Tielemans and Thomas Partey tracking the movement of Maddison. However, what ended up happening here was that because Castagna was pushing forward, that would peg back Smith-Rowe, and with Lookman dropping off into that pocket of space, Lokonga was shifting over, and Tielemans was dropping off ahead of the midfield bank and not getting picked up by Lacazette or Aubameyang, and that's where he had the freedom to play those positive passes. If Arsenal weren't pressing high, you would see Lacazette and Aubameyang dropping off into the midfield zone and blocking off the passing lane into Soumare and Tielemans, but as that half continued with Lookman dropping off into that zone to pull out a central midfielder, Tielemans was dropping into an inside right position or sometimes to an inside left position, and now he had the ability to pick passes and he was controlling the game and creating some of Leicester City's better chances. Initially, you could see Tielemans picking up the ball in his own third ahead of the Arsenal midfield bank, and with no player looking to apply pressure, he easily slides the ball across Aubameyang and Thomas Partey to find Maddison between the lines. The reason why Lokonga isn't able to shift across is due to the movement of Lookman dropping off into the midfield zone, and from here, Maddison's now able to locate the movement of Jamie Vardy, making that run in between the Arsenal left back and Gabriel, and he instantly slides the ball into the right channel for Vardy's run. As that play develops, you witness Vardy in a 1v1 with Gabriel, but he's looking to play a first-time pullback into the path of Barnes, who isn't being tracked as he makes a run towards the edge of the box. While Vardy does find Barnes in a legitimate goal-scoring position, he ends up firing his first-time effort wide of the net. If you look to another example, it's Tielemans carrying the ball freely in an inside right position towards the edge of the Arsenal penalty area, and from this zone, you see that Smith-Rowe can't step forward due to the positioning of Castagna, and then you have Daka looking to make a run from a midfield position just beyond Lokonga. In that situation, Arsenal still have 3v3, and if Aubameyang isn't dropping back to apply pressure from behind, then Nuno Tavares or Smith-Rowe have to step forward to apply pressure. Neither of the three Arsenal players do step forward, and Tielemans locates the run of Jamie Vardy in between the center backs, and from this position he has enough space to get a header on goal as he gets goal side of Ben White. The cross does fly over Gabriel's head, but from this position, Vardy ends up nodding an effort wide of the net. Here you can see Tielemans picking up the ball from Soumare, who shifted into a left channel position to receive the ball ahead of Lacazette, and focus on Luke Thomas making an underlapping run into the gap between Saka and Thomas Partey. Because no pressure is applied by Lacazette tightly, Tielemans is able to bypass Lacazette and split Saka and Thomas Partey to find Luke Thomas at the edge of the box freely, and luckily for Arsenal, Ben White's able to come across to apply pressure, and he's unable to beat Ramsdale from this position. So as you can see, while this should be classified as a great result for Arsenal, it was their first half pressing and shape that proved crucial, as you can make an argument that Rodgers' tactical adjustment merited a point.